If you guys live in Brazil or you are Brazilian, you might have noticed the number of electric vehicles driving our streets and our cities, especially from the brand, the company BYD. If you guys are not aware, BYD is a Chinese EV company, electric vehicle company, that has recently surpassed Tesla in number of car sales. So when you look around here in Brazil, you see that this company has come strongly to take over the market here in the country, especially now that Joe Biden has decided to increase tariffs for this kind of vehicles coming from China entering the United States. So what does that represent to Brazil? I'm gonna talk to you about everything on this matter after the intro, so don't go anywhere. Hello guys, how are you all doing? My name is Mark Saint and this is Brazil Unsubtitled. Welcome to our nation, the nation inside the nation, right? A YouTube nation that has Brazil as the focus.
No, wait. I'm sorry, what?
You are always welcome in here, alright? Guys, you know, especially with climate change, EVs or electric vehicles are the thing to be followed right now, right? So, what is happening in Brazil when it comes to electric vehicles? Well, guys, shut out of US markets and under fire in Europe, China's electric car makers are zeroing in on the countries where they're welcome, of course. One of the big ones, of course, is Brazil. BYD company and Great Wall Motor Company already dominates EV sales in the world's 6th largest automaker, us. Now the two Chinese giants are building factories here too, which will help them sell cars free of tariffs across Latin America. That may become the blueprint for other industries and regions, guys. China's powerhouse manufacturers have raised the hackles worldwide because cheap exports threaten the livelihoods of local firms and workers. If they want to reach more global consumers, and with price wars raging at home, they do. Beijing's companies are under pressure to invest, produce and hire in overseas markets instead of just shipping goods there, which is exactly what automakers are doing in Brazil. BYD hopes to start output by mid-2025 at a new factory that's on track to be its first outside Asia, guys. Great Wall aims to beat the benchmark by several months, cranking out SUVs near São Paulo before the end of this year, 2024. According to Ricardo Bastos, Great Wall's Institutional Relations Director in Brazil, open quotation, Chinese brands must invest outside China in order to avoid making protectionism more severe. In an interview at the company's São Paulo headquarters, Ricardo Bastos says he sees Brazil as a gateway to the whole region, from Mexico, Colombia, Argentina to Peru. Latin America's car market is worth almost $130 billion. Brazil is a major market in itself, and exactly the kind where Chinese producers need to win, according to Yale Zhang, managing director of the automotive Foresight Consultants in Shanghai. They face many obvious obstacles that stop them from entering large developed market, he says. So of course they need to grasp the biggest emerging markets. BYD and Great Wall aren't yet top tier players there overall, but their share is rising fast. And in EV sales, they've grabbed the leading two spots, impressing even upmarket Brazilian buyers with a mix of low prices and high technology. Chinese cars were known here in Brazil as bad and cheap when they first arrived, right? But now it's a totally different wave, guys. There's a lawyer called Thiago Luiz Ferraz Pereira here in São Paulo, guys, who is 38 years old, who paid 314,000 reais or $61,000 6 months ago for Great Wall's Haval H6 compact SUV, picking it over a BMW X3 hybrid model that would have cost about 60% more. And then he says, I have a lot more car with a much lower price. Still, BYD and Great Wall won't have everything their own way in Brazil. And even under President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva, longtime afraid of Beijing, there are government-imposed hurdles they will have to jump through. Guys, companies like Stellantis, Toyota and Volkswagen are among global auto giants that have pledged about $19 billion of investments in Brazil, almost all of it since mid-2023, vaulting the countries above Mexico as the top destination in Latin America. Most of the cash is going into hybrid cars that have an electric engine and also one that runs on gasoline or ethanol to take advantage of fuel produced locally in Brazil from the sugarcane crops. EVs are only a smallish slice of the local market right now, guys, but competition is set to intensify, testing the Chinese duo's ability to keep expanding their share. All of this is part of Lula's strategy to reindustrialize Brazil, in a sense, taking a leaf out of China's book. There's been a stark divergence in the economic history of the two countries, Brazil and China. Brazil's auto industry dates back more than a century, guys, to when Ford built a plant here, and it once propelled economic growth. But manufacturing has shrunk rapidly since the 80s, just when China's factories were taking off and driving Brazil's raw materials exports. President Lula is a trade unionist who began his career in a city known as Brazil's Detroit, which is São Bernardo do Campo, right? And Lula dreams of an industrial renaissance, and he's launched a series of plans to rebuild the auto sector and accelerate the green transition. Lula helped found the BRICS group of emerging market nations along with China, and he's looking to Beijing to back his dreams. Soon after taking office for the third time at the beginning of 2023, he visited Xi and left with about 50 billion reais in Chinese investment pledges. Lula is using sticks as well as carrots like financial support to pull in investment. He slapped 10% tariffs on EV imports this year, and they'll ratchet it up to 35% by 2026. Unlike charges imposed by the US and under consideration in Europe, these ones aren't specifically aimed at Chinese car makers. Still, the policy already led Great Wall to change course and opt for manufacturing the Raval SUV in Brazil, its local bestseller and thus a safer bet, instead of the pickup truck it had previously planned. What's more, to export made-in-Brazil cars to other Latin American countries without tariffs, producers need to source about half their components locally. If they can't meet that criteria, BYD and Great Wall risk losing their price edge. Both companies plan to start off with what are known in the industry as knockdown cars, meaning parts will be imported from China and assembled locally, while speeding up the search for local suppliers. They acknowledge it will be challenging. There's a lack of suppliers because the industry in Brazil declined in recent years, says Tyler Lee, president of BYD Brazil. Still, he says the company aims to make 60% of components inside Brazil within 5 years. Great Wall's Bastos says it would help a lot if batteries can be produced in Brazil, and the company will work to make this happen. This is fantastic. That's an example of how the arrival of foreign car makers can bring knock-on benefits for Brazil, including in employing and training workers, a key priority for President Lula. BYD, whose plant will have an initial capacity of 150,000 cars a year, has committed to creating 5,000 jobs, but the actual number will likely be more than double that, according to Lee. And that's just direct employment, not counting gains along the supply chain. BYD is also partnering with a local energy company, guys, to build 600 charging stations in 8 cities, addressing a shortfall that could limit EV sales. Great Wall's operation in Iracemápolis near São Paulo will be smaller, with some 50,000 capacity to start with. It's a conversion of an old Mercedes-Benz plant whose taxes once contributed some 40% of the city's revenue. The new factory will include a research and development center, and could eventually employ 2,000 people. Bringing in technology and know-how from abroad is how many Chinese industries began their rise to world leadership. Now they're on the other side of the equation, and that brings risks as well as opportunities for Beijing. China has taken lessons from industrial decline in countries like Brazil, and government advisors warn against repeating that trajectory. This is one of the reasons why Xi has made advancing manufacturing a high priority since the pandemic, calling it the country's lifeline and pushing for an economy driven by high-tech products like EVs. If those industries are investing and creating jobs abroad, they might be doing less of those things in China, where growth has slowed. Even though Beijing has backed overseas expansion by Chinese firms, it may worry that they will lose their edge by transferring technology, according to the Rhodium Group analysts. In the end, guys, as ties with the West sour, foreign investments may be China's best bet to stay on good economic terms with the rest of the emerging world. That's where giant consumer markets of the future will be found. But like Brazil, those nations aspire to be producers too. Cars are a product that everyone sees every day, says Zhang, the Shanghai auto consultant. Open quotations. For any country that has the slightest industry ambition to see all the cars running on their streets 100% brought in from elsewhere, it might hurt. Guys, BYD is definitely taking over the streets. If you don't have to be a specialist to notice what is going on in Brazil. If you just take to the streets, you will definitely see 4 or 5 models of BYD every single day like I do. So guys, I hope you have enjoyed this video. If you have, make sure you click on the like button. This is really important. When you click on the like button, the algorithm understands this content is relevant. You know that, right? So help us. Click on the like button, subscribe to the channel, become a member of this BU Nation that grows every day. If you guys want to support the channel even more, we have communities. Pick one of these 3 communities and enjoy the perks that we offer in exchange for your contribution. It's always a pleasure to have you here. Make sure you visit this Instagram profile and this one for Brazilian Portuguese, and I'll see you very soon. Thank you very much for everything. I'm leaving these cards here for you to keep watching the videos on the channel and enjoy the content. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.